Hi everybody, salam. Welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mariam and I'm a Persian language instructor and curriculum developer. I wanted to first apologize for my very long absence. I know it's been a while since I last posted a video, and it's just the reason is life gets in the way. Sometimes it's very hard to find time to make lessons and post new videos. But I'm trying to get better at this, and please be patient with me while I'm trying to find a way to balance this more. And also, this is my first time showing my face. Some people have suggested me to have my camera on because they said that it makes the lessons more interactive when they are able to see the instructor's face. So here we are. And also, I wanted to say thank you everyone who have subscribed to my channel and for your very kind comments. What really drives me back to my channel is to see your kind comments and your subscriptions. So I really wanted to say thank you so much. Merci, خیلی ممنون. So we have a new lesson today, present continuous tense. I hope you guys will find this lesson helpful, and again, please don't forget to subscribe. So let's just start this lesson. So far, in terms of tenses, we have learned the simple past tense and the present tense. And guys, I know with this lesson, the present tense, there's something off with the audio. But at some point in future, I will go back and I will redo this lesson. So if you already know these two tenses, then learning the present continuous tense is going to be very easy for you. So in this lesson, we are first going to learn how to form present continuous in Farsi, and then we are going to go over the usage of present continuous in English versus in Farsi. And then also we are going to learn a few other points, but there is no space for me here to add it. And then we are going to go over 10 examples to practice it. And then under important points, there's just maybe a couple of points that you need to know for this lesson. So before we start with present continuous, I wanted to just quickly review something here from the lesson about the present tense. The lesson that the audio is not good, I know. All right, so what I wanted to review is that in that lesson, we learned that the present tense in Farsi has three functions. It is used for simple present tense, it is used for present continuous tense, and it is used for future tense. So we have already somehow learned the present continuous tense, but I also said in that lesson that present continuous tense has another variation that is used only in the spoken language, and this is what we are going to learn in this lesson. Present continuous tense in Persian, the tense is called زمان حال استمراری or مستمر. زمان is tense, حال is present, استمراری, it means something that is continuing, so continuous. So in general, present continuous is used for actions that are happening now or situations that are gradually changing. And also we said that we just used present tense for present continuous. For example here, میبینم, it means I am seeing. کار میکنید, you are working. So this is present tense, but depending on the context, it could also be present continuous. But what we are going to learn in this lesson would be this variation of that, which we use an auxiliary verb. So دارم میبینم or دارید کار میکنید. So in the next slide, we are first going to learn how to form it, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about it. So first we need to learn how to form present continuous. We have two verbs here as examples. Let's start with the first one. The first one is خوردن, which means to eat. Remember, it is written as خوردن, but it's not pronounced خوردن, it's خوردن. All right, the first thing we need is we need dar. What is dar here? Dar is the present stem of the verb داشتن, which means to have. But here it is only used as an auxiliary verb or an helping verb. What is an auxiliary verb? An auxiliary verb is a verb that helps you form a tense, so you do not need to translate it. So we have dar here, and then we need to conjugate dar. So let's say the subject is man. This is the verb ending for man. So it becomes daram, daram. So this will be our auxiliary verb. And then we need the present tense. So what's the verb? The verb is خوردن. How do we form present tense? We need the prefix mi plus the present stem. What is the present stem of خوردن? Is خور. So mi, خور, and then we said, let's say man is the subject. So this is the verbal ending for man. میخورم. دارم میخورم. You see? دارم میخورم. So this is present continuous, which means I am eating. Let's take a look at the second one. The second one is a compound verb, برگشتن. Students, they always think برگشتن is a simple verb, but no, it is not a simple verb. It is a compound verb. This is a non-verbal part, and it is a preposition. All right, so now let's say the subject is شما. So this would be the conjugation for شما. So دارید, and then برگشتن, گرد is the present stem. So بر می گردید. Remember, with the compound verbs, the prefix mi comes between the non-verbal element and the verbal element. It does not come before. It comes in between because it needs to come before the verbal element. So دارید برمیگردید, right? دارید برمیگردید. It means you are returning. Now let's go over the negative form of present continuous. With negative in Farsi is manfi. Alright, so for the negative, the first thing we need to do, we do not need to use the auxiliary verb for negative. And then the present tense, mi, in the present tense, the suffix mi becomes nemi. So میخورم becomes نمیخورم. So let's say if I'm saying I am eating, but now I want to make it negative and I want to say I am not eating. Then we just get rid of دارم, and then mi becomes nemi. So نمیخورم. And for the second one, برمیگردید. So mi becomes nemi. So if I want to say here the sentence is positive, it says you are returning, دارید برمیگردید. But now we want to say you are not returning. Then we don't need دارید, and then me here becomes nemi. So بر نمیگردید. Now let's do a quick comparison between present continuous in English versus Persian. So we have a sentence here, I am reading a book. The Persian equivalent is من دارم کتاب میخوانم. And میخوانم in the spoken language is pronounced میخونم. من دارم کتاب میخونم. So what are the differences between these two, like grammatically? Let's start with the auxiliary verb. So here the auxiliary verb am is used, which comes from the infinitive to be. So in English, to form present continuous, the auxiliary verbs am, is, are, they are used. But in Farsi, the auxiliary verb dar is used. And dar comes from the infinitive داشتن, which means to have. The second difference is that in English, the auxiliary verbs are not optional. So if you wanna say something in present continuous, you have to use the auxiliary verbs. But in Farsi, dar is optional. So if I wanna, like, for example, scratch this out, and if I wanna just say man کتاب میخوانم or man کتاب میخونم, this sentence, it's still correct. But in English, if I scratch this out and I say something like I reading a book, the sentence becomes completely incorrect. So that's the other difference. The auxiliary verb dar is optional. So just remember that, and let me erase this. Okay. Now, so when do we use dar? Like, do we even have to use dar? No, we really don't need to use dar, but it is commonly used in the spoken language. So I think it's a good thing to learn it. At least you can understand it. But technically, no, you don't need to use it. The sentence is also correct without the auxiliary verb. Now the other difference is that here on the English side, reading is a present participle, but in Farsi, present tense is used. Mi khanam, which is the prefix mi, present stem khan, and then the verb ending. Now the other thing is that the auxiliary verb dar or daram here it comes after the subject. So man daram kitab mikhanam. But in English, the auxiliary verb comes after the subject, yes, and then it's being followed by the present participle. But in Farsi, the present tense comes at the end. For example, like literally, we are saying, I am book reading. In Farsi is not very strict. That's why you don't see which is yek. That's why you don't see it here, because it's not very strict. So it's like saying, I am book reading. But what if now I want to say, I am reading a book with my friend. I want to add this piece of information here. With my friend. Then we need to say, من دارم با دوستم کتاب میخوانم or میخونم, which literally is like saying I am book with my friends reading. So in English, they come right after each other, the auxiliary verb and present participle, but in Farsi, they don't come right after each other. So first we need to bring the auxiliary verb after the subject, and then the verb comes at the end, میخوانم. So there's something here which I need to mention, which is in Farsi, we have three types of present continuous. So the first one, man kitab میخوانم, which we have already learned this, it's without the auxiliary verb. And this form is used both in the formal language and informal language. And then we are learning this form in this lesson, man daram kitab میخونم, which we said earlier that is only used in the spoken language, in like the everyday language. And then there's a third form of present continuous. So this form, من در حال کتاب خواندن هستم. So the preposition در حاله is used, and then we use gerund here after the preposition, and then the verb to be. So we are not going to go over this form in this lesson. Why? Because this form is used in the formal context. And then since we are still at the beginner level, you don't need to learn this form, because you will only this form is usually used in like the news and books and just like formal contexts, so it's a little bit more like higher level. So don't worry about it, you don't need to learn about it now, but later I'm going to make a video and I'm going to explain to you this form. Now let's go over the usage of present continuous in English versus Persian. So they're pretty much, they have both languages, they have the same usage. For example, in both English and Farsi, it is used for actions happening now. For example, my dog is playing in the backyard. سگم دارد در حیاط بازی می کند. Or it is used for changing situations. For example, my mother is getting better. مادرم دارد بهتر می شود. Or it is used for definite upcoming plans. For example, I am seeing my doctor on Friday. جمعه دارم دکترم را می بینم. In English, you say doctor. In Farsi, we say doctor. But remember, for this one, it is only used for very near future plans. For example, plans that is going to happen in like within the next few days or maximum like a week, not something that is going to happen in like a year. But there is a difference also between the usage of present continuous in between Farsi and English, and it's in habits. In English, it is also used for habits as well. For example, my dog is always playing. So we have is and then playing. So that's present continuous, right? And it is used with the time adverb always, which is referring to habits. But in Farsi, we cannot do that. We cannot use the time adverb همیشه, which means always, with the auxiliary verb dar, which in this case it will be دارد. So I cannot say سگم دارد همیشه بازی میکند. It's just they don't go well with each other. So we just use present tense, like without the auxiliary verb. Or for example, she is always smiling. او همیشه لبخند میزند. I cannot say او دارد همیشه لبخند میزند because of the time adverb همیشه. So what we just used present tense without the auxiliary verb. Now let's quickly review the three forms of present continuous. So for the positive, you are seeing a movie. To see is دیدن. بین is the present stem. So تو داری فیلم میبینی. For the negative, you're not seeing a movie. تو فیلم نمیبینی. So what changed here? We don't need to use the auxiliary verb داری. And then می changed to نمی. Right? And then for the question form, we want to ask, are you seeing a movie? Then it would be آیا تو داری فیلم میبینی? So here we have learned the interrogative particle آیا in lesson 2, I think. Lesson 2 or lesson 3. So we said that آیا does not mean anything, first of all. It doesn't have any meaning. It's just something we use to form a question. But you have to know that آیا is optional, so I don't need to use آیا. We only use it when we really want to emphasize on the question. Other than that, we don't really use it in everyday spoken conversations. But the question intonation, that's very important. For example, if I don't want to use آیا, the question intonation, my tone is going to make it clear that I'm asking a question. So back to this one, to the affirmative one, the positive one. تو داری فیلم میبینی. Now the question one. تو داری فیلم میبینی. So by changing the tone and having a question intonation, I'm showing that I'm asking a question. Other than that, nothing changes. Like in English, you are seeing becomes are you seeing? So you are and are you, they're switching positions. But in Farsi, it's the same thing. To داری فیلم میبینی. Same thing. So that's why you just need to have a question intonation, and maybe if it's hard for you in the beginning to have a question intonation, then at least try to use آیا, because by using آیا, it's making it very clear that you're asking a question. Now let's go over some common time expressions used with present continuous. The first one is الان, الان, or حالا. Both of them, they mean now. And then the second one maybe would be فعلا, for now. For example, for now I'm doing the dishes, I'll watch TV later. Something like this. And again, it's pronounced فعلا. And what is this here? these two lines here on the alef. This is called tadwin. And basically what it does is like you don't need to pronounce the alef. It always sits on the alef. But you don't need to pronounce the alef, and imagine putting a short vowel a on the letter before the alef. So fi'lan, and then adding a nun to the lam. Here, you can see it here. You see there's no alef here. So get rid of the alef, put a on the letter before the alef, and then add a nun to the letter lam, fi'lan. And then this one, little by little, kam kam, kam kam, or gradually, be tadrij, be tadrij. We do have also, there's also more. It's not only this that you see here, but there's two very commonly used in the formal language. For example, dar hal hazir, dar hal hazir, which means currently or at the present time, or aknun, which means now. But these are mostly used in the formal language. You don't need to know it for now, but I would say at least try to learn this ones here. So here are the examples that I used in this lesson. We are going to translate these examples into Persian, and it will be a great practice for you guys. Let's start with the first example, which the first example is short and it's easy. So here we have a sentence and it says, sorry, let me be closer to my microphone. Okay. I am painting now. So paint, what is to paint in Farsi? To paint or to draw is نقاشی کردن. And there's also like a stress on the letter qaf, نقاشی کردن. But remember, نقاشی کردن is only like painting like on a canvas maybe. It doesn't mean like painting your walls, like changing the color of your walls. It just means like to paint on a canvas, like here in this picture. All right, now let's go over to the vocab. So now we said it's al-on, and if you don't remember how to form present tense, let's also review it here. So we need the prefix me plus present stem, which is in the bracket, plus verb ending. So the subject is I, so we need to conjugate it to I, which is man. And then we have present tense. So literally we need to say something like I now am painting. So let's start with that. من الان دارم نقاشی میکنم. One more time. من الان دارم نقاشی میکنم. So man is in a bracket. دارم is in a bracket. And we can also, so both of them are optional. So I can also say something like الان نقاشی میکنم. So that's also correct. And what about the negative? So the negative, what if I want to say I am not painting now? Then we say that we don't need the auxiliary verb for the negative. And میکنم becomes نمیکنم. So we need to add a ne to the prefix me. So من الان نقاشی نمیکنم. Next example, which is a little bit longer, but it's easy. Okay, that boy and his dog are running in the park. So what is the verb? The verb is running, which comes from the infinitive to run, which in Farsi is davidan. Davidan. And do is the present stem. But remember, davidan is only like physical running. It's not like running a business or running a restaurant. Now let's go over the vocab. Boy is pesar, dog is sag. The preposition in is dar. In the spoken language is pronounced to, and park is just park. So literally we need to say something like that boy and his dog are in the park running. آن پسر و سگش دارند در پارک میدوند. One more time. آن پسر و سگش دارند در پارک میدوند. So why is دارند after سگش and not after آن پسر? Because both پسر and سگش are part of the subject, because you can see that it's conjugated to third person plural. So that's why دارند needs to come after سگش. And then also the same is in English. You see are, the auxiliary verb are is after his dog. So the same in Farsi. And now let's go over the informal form of the sentence, which a few things changes. On becomes un. And then the second thing, do you remember from the previous lessons, I said that the conjunction va in the spoken language, it has a different pronunciation. We don't specifically say va. Instead, it's like we don't say it at all, but instead we put a short vowel o on the letter before that, like we say, we pronounce it. So pesaro, by hearing o, I know that is referring to the conjunction va. And then sagash in the spoken language becomes sagish. We have also learned this in the lesson about possessive adjectives. The next thing that changes is darand. Darand becomes daran. Dar, we said it's two, you see from here. And then midavand, it has a drastic change in the spoken language. It becomes midoan. Midoan. So now let's read it one more time. اون پسر و سگش دارن تو پارک میدوئن. Alright, let's take a look at the next example. If you see a change in my camera, it's because I'm recording this on another day. Alright, next example says, my grandmother is slowly getting better. So here, to get better, better in Farsi is بهتر. So to get better is بهتر شدن. Every time in Farsi you want to say something like to get better, to get happy, to get worse, to get like to become something. In Farsi we use the verb شدن. Let's go over to the vocab. Grandmother is مادر بزرگ. What is slowly? Slowly is either کم کم or یواش یواش. Kam, it means little, so it's like little by little, and yavash, it means slow, so it's like literally saying slow, slow. There are other vocab for slowly too, but I just wanted to keep it simple here and just show you these two vocab. And then we said better is behtar, as it is here in the verb. All right, so literally we need to say my grandmother is little by little better becoming. مادر بزرگم دارد کم کم بهتر می شود. One more time. مادر بزرگم دارد کم کم بهتر می شود. So here, what would be the informal of this? دارد becomes داره. And for می شود, there's a drastic informal change. So می شود becomes میشه. This is what we use in the spoken language. In the spoken everyday conversation, we don't say mishavat. We only say mishe. So they're very different. And you need to know both versions. Because again, we only use this one in the spoken language. So let me read it one more time. مادر بزرگم داره کم کم بهتر میشه. Next example. It's cold. My sister is closing the windows. So to close in Farsi is bastan. Bastan. Band is the present stem. And the rest of the vocab, cold is sard. Sister is khahar. Remember, the letter vav or u here is silent. We don't read it. It's not pronounced. So imagine this aleph is attached to khe. Khahar. And then window, panjere. Well, we need to make it plural when translating this sentence. So literally we need to say cold is, my sister is the windows closing. And remember, we do not have the subject pronoun it in Farsi as a subject pronoun. We do have it as an object pronoun, but as a subject pronoun, we don't have it. All right, let's start. سرد است. خواهرم دارد پنجره ها را می‌بندد. One more time. سرد است. خواهرم دارد پنجره ها را می‌بندد. So here we have, why do we have ra here? The reason is that we are saying my sister is closing the windows. So we are talking about specific windows. We're not just talking about any windows, like the windows. That's why it will trigger ra in Farsi. And now let's go over to the informal. Sardast becomes sarde. And then دارد داره. پنجره ها را, so ra becomes ro, so پنجره ها رو. And then میبندد, میبنده. Why is there like a double dal here? Because the first dal is part of the present stem and the second dal is for conjugation, is the verbal ending. Alright, so this sentence in the informal language is سرده خواهرم داره پنجره ها رو میبنده. Next example, my family is opening their new restaurant on Friday. To open is باز کردن. کن is the present stem. Family is خانواده. New is جدید. Restaurant is رستوران. So it's kind of almost the same vocab, it's just the pronunciation is different. And then Friday is جمعه. So literally we need to say my family is their restaurant new Friday opening. Why restaurant new? Because again in Farsi the noun comes first and then comes the adjective. And then on the lesson about prepositions of time, we said that we usually don't use prepositions for like days of the week. That's why you don't see like on here on Friday. It's just Friday. So let's start the sentence. خانواده ام دارند رستوران جدیدشان را جمعه باز می کنند. All right, let's go over a few things here. First of all, what is this aleph here before the possessive adjective? We have this aleph here because خانواده ends in a silent he. So for pronunciation purpose, for ease of pronunciation, we add an aleph before the possessive adjective. And then why do we have ra here? Ra is triggered because of the possessive adjective جدیدشان. So it makes it specific, right? So we have learned this in the lesson about direct object, make it ra. And then also remember the possessive adjective sits on the adjective, not with the noun. So we cannot say رستورانشان جدید. It doesn't matter how many adjectives we have, the possessive adjective always comes sits on the last adjective. All right, I think the rest is pretty clear. Now let's go over to the informal. دارند is دارن. Okay, this one. جدیدشان را, so it becomes جدیدشون رو, because ra becomes ro and جدیدشان becomes جدیدشون. Or even more informally, it becomes جدیدشونو. And then میکنند, میکنن. So let me read it one more time informally. خانواده هم دارن رستوران جدیدشون رو جمعه باز میکنن. Or خانواده هم دارن رستوران جدیدشون رو جمعه باز میکنن. Next example, they are parking their car in the alley. So parking, to park in Farsi is park کردن. Easy, right? And now car is machine, preposition in is dar. In the spoken language is pronounced to, and ali is kuche. So why did I use alley here? Because alley is something that is very typical to Iran. In Iran, we have like main streets, and then there's a lot of like alleys that which they are called kuche. Like that's how the structure of the cities are. Unlike the U.S., at least in the big cities, I know that there's like the streets, the cities are structures by like blocks. But in Iran, they're mostly like main streets and then alleys. For those of you who are familiar with the structure of the cities in the Middle East, not only Iran, I've seen it in other Middle Eastern countries. So alley is something that is very typical. All right, so literally we need to say they are their car in the alley parking. آنها دارند ماشینشان را در کوچه پارک می کنند. One more time. آنها دارند ماشینشان را در کوچه پارک می کنند. Let's go over to the informal. A few things changes. So آنها becomes اونها in the spoken language. دارند becomes دارن. ماشینشان را. So two things changes. First, ماشینشان becomes ماشینشون and را becomes رو. So ماشینشون رو or ماشینشونو. And then the preposition در is to. Remember, it's written like told, second person singular, but the pronunciation is different. This is to. And then میکنند, میکنن. So let me read it one more time, informally. اونها دارن ماشینشون رو تو کوچه پارک میکنن. Or اونها دارن ماشینشون رو تو کوچه پارک میکنن. Next example. This woman is turning on the light. So to turn on something, روشن کردن. روشن by itself it means bright. So it's like saying to do bright. And also in English, the verb to start is usually used for turning on like your car or like a machine or device. But in Farsi, we do not use the verb to start. We only use the verb روشن کردن when referring to turning on a device or a machine. Let's go over to the vocab. Woman is خانوم, woman is خانوم, and then light is چراغ or lamp. Lamp comes from the word lamp. So literally we need to say this woman is the light turning on. این خانوم دارد چراغ را روشن می کند. One more time. این خانوم دارد چراغ را روشن می کند. So why do we have ra here? Ra is triggered because we are saying is turning on the light. We are not just referring to any lights on the street. We're talking about the specific light. روشن کردن is a transitive verb, so it's چیزی را روشن کردن, and چیزی here is چراغ. So چراغ را روشن می کند. Let's go over to the informal. دارد becomes داره. را becomes رو. So چراغ رو or چراغو. And then می کند, کند becomes کنه. So this sentence informally is این خانم داره چراغ رو روشن میکنه. Or این خانم داره چراغ رو روشن میکنه. Next example, we are turning off the TV. So this is a short and easy example. To turn off is خاموش کردن. And let's go over to the vocab. TV is تلویزیون, which is the same as television. It's just the pronunciation is different. So literally we need to say we are TV turning off. ما داریم تلویزیون را خاموش میکنیم. One more time. ما داریم تلویزیون را خاموش میکنیم. So why do we have ra here? Ra is triggered because we are turning off the TV. we're referring to a specific object. And خاموش کردن is a transitive verb. It's چیزی را خاموش کردن. So چیزی here is television. Now let's go over to the informal. Ra becomes ro. So this is the only thing that changes. So literally, sorry, not literally, informally, the sentence is ما داریم تلویزیون رو خاموش میکنیم. Or we also say ما داریم تلویزیون نو خاموش میکنیم. So it's like we get rid of the re, and then this u here comes here. So تلویزیون نو خاموش میکنیم. Next example, Nima is getting up from the chair. So to get up or to stand up is بلند شدن. بلند شدن is a prepositional verb. In English, the preposition from is used. In Farsi, from above is used. از روی چیزی, and چیزی here would be the صندلی, بلند شدن. So we get up from above something because رو it means above. And رو is a preposition that needs to be connected to the object by اضافه. So that's why we add this ye here. So اضافه, the implied اضافه can sit here. So روی. Let me change my pen. روی چیزی. All right. And let's go over to the vocab. So we said from is as, and we need to say as روی. And then chair is صندلی. So literally we need to say Nima is from above the chair getting up. Nima دارد از روی صندلی بلند می شود. One more time. نیما دارد از روی صندلی بلند می شود. Let's go over to the informal because I think the rest is pretty clear. دارد is داره, and می شود, again, it has a drastic change. می شود becomes میشه. So this sentence informally is نیما داره از روی صندلی بلند میشه. Last example for this lesson. So here we want to say I am very tired and I am laying down. So to lay down is دراز کشیدن. دراز it means long, and کشیدن it means to pull. So to pull long, which means to lay down. Always remember, learning the literal translation of each word helps you to memorize the verb better. All right, now let's go over the vocab. Very is خیلی, tired خسته, and we know the rest. So literally we need to say something like I very tired am, I am laying down. من خیلی خسته هستم, دارم دراز میکشم. So I didn't repeat the second man here because we already have it here in the first clause, so it kind of becomes repetitive if I say man here again. And then I think the rest is pretty clear. So what would be the informal of the sentence? So خسته هستم in the spoken language becomes خسته am, or even faster خستم. So it would be من خیلی خسته ام, دارم دراز میکشم, or من خیلی خستم, دارم دراز میکشم. We are almost done with this lesson. Just 2 important points that we need to learn, and then that's it. So point number 1 is for those of you who love grammar and you know the tenses. So in English, when present perfect continuous is used with since and from, most of the time it just equals to present continuous in Farsi. Okay, let's take a look at 2 examples because I know students, they don't like the name of the tenses. They would like to see examples. So this one, I have been reading this book since this morning. So we want to say the sentence in Farsi. First of all, we don't have present perfect continuous in Farsi. So what tense do we use instead? We just use present continuous. So the way we say it, we first need to say this part and then we need to say this part. So meaning, since in Farsi is as. So we need to say as صبح, since morning or since this morning. دارم این کتاب را میخوانم. I am reading this book. So since morning, I am reading this book. This is how we say it, like literally. Or for the second one, I have been studying for my exam from last night. So we first need to say from last night. از دیشب, from last night. And then I am reading for my exam. دارم برای امتحانم درس میخوانم. Sorry, not reading, studying. I am studying. پس از دیشب, from last night, دارم برای امتحانم درس میخوانم. I am studying, درس میخوانم, studying for my exam. So the second point, let me explain it by using these examples. So there are some verbs in Farsi that it's referring to the activity. For example, to sleep. خوابیدن, خواب. In English, we want to say the kids are sleeping, meaning they are already asleep, right? If I translate the sentence in Farsi by using present continuous, which it will be بچه‌ها دارند میخوابند, then it means the kids are going to sleep. It doesn't mean that they're already sleeping. It means that they're ready to go to bed. So we cannot use present continuous with this verb. What do we say instead? Instead we say بچه‌ها خواب هستند. The kids are asleep. Or for the second one, to wear, پوشیدن. To wear, پوشیدن in Farsi, it refers to the act of putting on. So for example, if I want to say the kids are wearing shoes, if I want to use present continuous, then it's going to be بچه‌ها دارند کفش میپوشن, which the meaning is the kids are putting on shoes. So how do I say this sentence instead? I need to say بچه‌ها کفش پوشیده and we use present perfect for it. Up to this lesson, we haven't learned present perfect yet. So if you don't know it, don't worry about it. You will learn about it later. Or for example, this example, to sit, نشستن. If I want to say the kids are sitting, it means they're already on their chair, they're sitting. If I want to use present continuous for this one, then it would be بچه‌ها دارند میشینند. But this sentence, it means the kids are sitting down. So for this one, I need to say بچه‌ها نشسته‌اند. Again, I need to use present perfect for it. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you guys found this lesson helpful. And please don't forget to like this video, to comment, and to subscribe to my channel. And also, if you have any questions, if you have any feedback, any comments, anything, please let me know in the comment section. And then I will see you guys in the next video. فعلا خدا حافظ.